Hello everybody, today we'll be making a pattern draft of a trouser or pants as some people call it. Now our measurements will be waist 30, hip 40, trouser length 37, tie 27, flap 9. So we will start. I have already drawn the borderline as usual. I've drawn the borderline. Now the first thing you do is you get your hip. The hip is 40. You divide the hip by 4. 40 divided by 4 is 10. So the first thing you do is get your hip line. You know, I told you in the other tutorial that your hip line is either 8, 9 or 10. 8, 9 or 10. So for hip 40 we can use 10. Our hip line will be 10. So we mark our 10 and then we'll draw the line. Now on the hip line we take our hip measurement. Our hip measurement is 10. We add 2, so we have 12. Hip measurement is 10. You add 2 inches for allowance, so you have 12. That is on the hip line. You take the same measurement on the waistline, so you have 12 also on the waistline. Now you bring down the line to join each other. It is on this line we will find our flap. For this measurement our flap is 9, so we take 9. Wherever our flap stops is our hip. Wherever our flap stop is our tie line. Our flap stop at 9, so our tie line will also be at 9, so we take 9. Sometimes the hip and the flap are on the same line. It is okay. There is no problem. It is okay. Now this is our tie line. We take our tie line from the flap. The next thing is to get our measurement, our tie measurement. Our tie is 27. If you divide 27 by 2, you get 13 and a half. So you take your 13 and a half. Don't add anything. Take your 13 and a half on the tie measurement. Do not add anything, like so. Now the trouser measurement is 37. We take 37 from the waist and we go down. This is 37. You mark. You add 1.5 or 2 inches. 1 is not up to 2, so we add 1.5. It's not up to 2 inches. We add 1.5. We take another mark so that we can get our straight line. We have 37, 1.5. Now that will be the bottom line. Now we draw our straight line on the bottom. And this will be the, okay, let me just try hard to, okay, so we have the length. Now we need to get our waist. On the waistline, the waist is 30. 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. From the flap line you go in. From the flap line you go in. You get your 7.5. you mark it. You add 2 inches or 1.5 depending. That 2 inches will be allowance for your darts, you know, to shaping it to get the form of the trouser. Now the next thing we want to do is to get the curve of the flap. What we do is we will get like 1/4 inch on the angle, 1/4 inch on the angle, and we blend. You can decide to use 1/2 inch, it doesn't matter. 1/2, 1/4 is the same, it's okay. Now that is the angle for the flap. Now, having gotten the flap and the waist, you want to now get the shape of the trouser. If you're wearing a pencil trouser, or if it's a big leg trouser, whatever it is, from the border line, take 2 inches from the border line. Take the measurement of your ankle or whatever it is. I am using 10. I don't want it to be too tight, so I'm using 10. From that 2 inches, you take 10 inches. That will be the bottom of your trouser. This is 2 inches and 10 inches. You take the same thing for both lines. Now you link it. You link the front to the flap. You link the front to the flap from here. You link it to the flap like so, and you link the back to the hip. So from here you link it to the hip line. Remember I told you, if they fall on the same line, then it is okay. To the hip line, I stop at the hip line. Now from the waist, I link the waist also to the hip line. I link the waist also to the hip line. Then I blend. Pattern of the trouser, what you do is you place the front on the back paper, get the border line, 1/2 inch of the back draft, get the border line 1/2 inch, draw your border line. And then place the front on the borderline. You can see that I've placed it with the front borderline on the line of the back borderline because I need the space up. That is why I've placed it like that. I need the space. Now place the front on the paper to get the back pattern. What you do is on the tie line, which is the flap, on the tie line, increase the line, okay, add 2.5 inch. This is the back pattern. I hope you remember and you know what I'm doing. This is the back pattern. We are now using the front pattern to get the back pattern. On the tie line, we have elongated the tie line and added 2.5 inches on the flap. On the bottom side, we will elongate the line and add 2 inches. Remember, 2.5 on the flap and 2 inches on the bottom. We add 2 inches. Now we join the line. We join the line. Okay, now on the waist, remember that the waist line on the back trouser is higher than the waistline on the front trouser. So what you do is, from the waist you go in 1/4 inch. From the waist of the back trouser you go in 1/4 inch. You mark it 1/4 inch. You go in 1/4 inch, and then you go up 1/4. You go up 1/4. You go up 1/4 from that quarter line. You go up 1/4 like that. You go up 1/4. That is on the back line. On the front line you come down 1/2 inch. You come down 1/2 inch on the trouser front, but you go up 1/4 on the trouser back. You now link it to the side of your pattern trouser. You link it to the side like so. Remember that the side of this one now is here. This is the side, because this is the border line. The border line of the front trouser starts here. So you link it to the side. When you link it the back to the side, it will be like this. Like this. So you have the front 1/2 inch down, and you have the back 1/4 inch up. So you trace the side. You trace the side of the trouser. You trace the side of the trouser. Side to side is the same thing. There is no difference. You trace the side of the trouser. Please, when you are cutting your pattern, make sure you use a long paper so that you will not get it short like this, so that you have a paper that will be equal. But even if you use this, when you are cutting, remember to add the 1/2 inch that is there. So for the back, to join the flap now, we go from that 1/4 inch. We go from that 1/4 inch like so and link it to our flap. We go from that 1/4 inch and link it to our flap. I don't want it to be too tight so that it does not start entering your bum bum as you are walking. So we go like that. Sorry about the mess. We go like that. So that is the front, and this is the back. This is the back, and this is the front. The back is always bigger than the front. You can see when I was doing the front, I did not put any allowance, but doing the back, you will put allowance.